All right, ladies and gentlemen, what we have here is the very fresh Area 7 Championship breakdown. I just shot this match yesterday, so I have a lot of thoughts and fresh ideas on some of the stuff I could have done better or differently. Before we begin, I'll say this is the first major match I've shot in production in about a year. So some of the stuff that's going wrong is symptomatic of that, just kind of being new to getting back to irons and having to do a lot of reloading and just stylistically kind of moving through stages a little bit differently than you do when you don't have to, do so much gun handling stuff. So there's some things that definitely are just going to be growing pains for the short term, and a couple things that are sort of more pervasive, long-term, ongoing issues that will need to be rectified over the next little while as I continue to get ready for more matches. So this is the first stage of the match. You can definitely see I'm pretty tense shooting this stage, and we'll talk about some of the reasons why. But first, let's watch at full speed, because I think the great aspect of doing these breakdowns is getting people to pay keen attention to what they think could be done better, and then we can kind of compare notes. Let's watch together. All right, so definitely some things there that are pretty clear. I will say it's not really obvious from watching this third person, but these positions are really, really particular. These walls, you have to hit an exact position that's probably sensitive to like 4 to 5 inches in either direction as far as where you place your feet and therefore your head, and you won't be able to see all the targets very thoroughly. So you start on these toes on marks right about here or whatever. Got to step over, grab your gun, step over to this right side, and I got to shoot basically this target that's buried deep, this one that's over here, an Act 2 steel, and then another target that's deep, like off screen over this way. You can see, and this is going to be very obvious in this position, every time I transition, you can see like my body and head are moving together, right? So if you watch this array, see what I mean? Like it doesn't really look like my actual head is getting out ahead of the gun really at all. And based on dropping, I think 5 Charlies on just a 24 round stage or so, and these pickup shots, it definitely seems like my vision is not out ahead of the gun at all. Like I'm probably studying my sights as they're moving on these targets and then kind of being captivated by the motion of the sight and not looking to the spot where the sights need to get steered to. So this is a vision breakdown problem. It's kind of occurs with stress, and it occurs in these sorts of situations where the positions are tight and, of course, the novelty of the iron sights. But this is a problem that I shake off pretty well after this stage, in my opinion. But it is a pretty big problem that cost me a bunch of drop points and some extra shots in the steel. Again, watch this. Every time I transition, you can see the motion comes from my whole body, and my head is not ahead of the gun. Right here, miss a reload, abandon it, go for a second one. Timing worked good because I went to the swinger first, which was the plan, by the way. It tells you it probably would have been not a great plan to begin with. If I came in on this with a well-timed reload, I would have been waiting on that swinger for a moment. We see again here, I missed this position just slightly. I shoot this stack and have to take a small adjustment to get to here. And again, like when that's happening, when you're having to like move your whole body to accommodate the target, that means you're not going to be very successful at getting your eye on the spot and just letting the sights come to you and therefore be in control. And then to this position, this part's pretty good. Hit this position well, but then again, like my body, I'm transitioning like stuck to the sight where my eye's not getting out ahead of the guns. On this last transition, go to the wrong target, have to come back. So a significant amount of lost potential there on that stage. Definitely very stressed on that stage. I wanted to do well in the match. Not really a ton of competition in production because it's not. I'm bringing it back. I'm going to make it popular again. That's my goal anyway. But there's not a lot of people in the match shooting production. But it is my first time back. Definitely nervous, looking to have a good performance. Let's look at the next stage. So this one's pretty basic. You start in this chair. You got to shoot 6 shots from sort of these 2 positions on the left and right. You see right there, a little push on the gun. So a little bit of actual gun handling stuff here. Still a little bit froggy, still a little bit stressed. This transition's really good. Nail this, I'm able to do a straight transition in. But then you see the gun kind of gets to it's pretty much on the target here, and then watch how it drops right there. I'm playing this like trying to play it steady. You see the actual gun drops down before I'm shooting. It's because I'm like pushing down on the gun, trying to like basically time the pacing of the gun, which is a bad habit that I think lots of people do occasionally, but it's not something you want to see happening. This gun handling part here is good, shooting careful here to not drop silly points, but then coming down into this port, bringing the gun way off eye line, compressing it in to fit my arms through this window, I kind of tweaked my grip, and then the first 2 shots in this bottom part of this stack were 2 Charlie, like just to the right on the right side of the A zone. So something about this gun handling action right here was just kind of misaligned my grip and my body index. This was the first stage performance that was actually definitely good, so don't have a ton to say about this, honestly. Into this position, I have an open, all these targets about 15 to 20 yards. I didn't pace them or anything, but I have in order, open target, 2 small, you see this popper in the back. I've shot both of steel together, so I could actually draw this, I suppose. I have open target, little steel, target stack, little steel. I shot order-wise, I shot open target, steel, steel, open target, partial, just because I like the way that worked for breaking up the actual shot difficulty. So that's what you're hearing. You can't really see what's going on, but that's what you're hearing when you're watching this. Have to do a short reload right here, because low cap's not popular anymore. This part was great. And then this last part is pretty vanilla. But coming into here, I wanted to power hard into this position so I could free this up. A lot of folks, basically, that were shooting carry optics, they shot this outside first. They made a straight line across. So they're landing more, coming at these targets over here in a line like up from this angle, and then having to tip their body way out. So I wanted to kind of stay a little more uprange so that I could roll my weight through while shooting these. You see I'm able to shoot pretty aggressively while keeping my weight rolling. Just kind of taking small steps, bringing my weight high to center. So these tighter partials, I can still collect good points with good stability on these. Break into this reload. And you had to pretty much shoot your way into these steel to land in the position to hit this fairly easy paper target, but you had to be exactly in that position to get at it. So this last position was pretty well executed as well, in my opinion. Good stage. This first one, I bungled this actual, well, I'll just let you watch it. We'll watch this first position, then we'll talk about it. So I'm sure you can tell from watching that's a touch awkward. My plan essentially in all 3 of these boxes was you had to get to the back corner, the uprange-most corner of this box to be able to see everything. And then with my long legs, I was able to should have been able to do basically 1 step with my outside foot, then the other foot. It's just basically a 2-step combination to get up to the other corner. In the process of transitioning to this open target, I kind of take much smaller, daintier steps so that my feet are a little bit out of sorts and I'm transitioning into this steel. I think right here, my foot might have been outside the line. I could tell it definitely wasn't in the right position. So before I shoot, I have to shuffle this back in like that. And then, just do diligent shooting at that point to not let that mistake cost me anything more. This part's good. My plan right here, I can't really see the target very much from this last position in here, but I'm shooting at a partial target that's about 8 yards away and has about 2 inches of A's in the lower zone available. My plan was to not aim crazy hard for the alphas on this. I wanted to just kind of get aim at the line, shoot fast, probably average 50% alphas, statistically speaking, on that target. So just more or less choose to eat a Charlie or so that I can just roll out of this position. But the first shot as I came in was early. It went over the right shoulder, and I knew it, so I had to shoot 3 on it. And the rest of this, it's pretty good. Little pickup right here, but I'm moving. And again, you can't really... this stage, my vision discipline was not very good in this first position. So these first 2 targets at about 13 yards away. Shot a little bit quicker than really was probably reasonable. I thought on that second target I had a Charlie Delta. It ended up being an Alpha Charlie. Right here, you're engaging these targets over here, literally, like this close target right here. I'm shooting from the position I'm in, so it's on the 180. So I'm cueing after I finish this to basically intentionally point the gun down range in this very obvious way like that. So then I want to go to this reload. I'm not going to be at risk of getting DQ'd. Missed this reload a little bit, and I have to right there. I went to actually look at it before I get back into this position. Entering here, I have a couple partials and mixed open targets to engage to finish out. Fairly unremarkable stage performance. Can't really 100% see what's going on back here, but I shot 1 extra shot in the steel as I'm moving up, and then this swinger, I can see you can't see it at all, but behind this big black bar over here, there's a swinger that's going this way, and so I engaged that as it's going away to the right. The timing worked out really good, so I was able to hang 2 on it. And that was 2 alpha on that swinger, which was pretty good. Like, even in the moment, I was like, hey, that was cool. This was a pretty good run. Strategy on this was a little different. I didn't like how it was difficult to get lots of folks off this first position. They were shooting these 3 targets you see while moving kind of backwards over their shoulder. But then hitting this lean here was pretty tricky. And so if you were looking down range and not at the spot you needed to hit, there's a good chance you weren't going to hit that lean. So I decided to do this part first and then just deal with the second part static. Someone pointed out to me they thought that I was kind of started shooting over here late. My plan was to start shooting right about here, and you can see the actual gun goes off right about here. Right, so yeah, sure, a little bit late. I didn't hate the fact that I ended up shooting this head box static because I was able to lock down 2 alpha on it with pretty stable feet. I didn't mind that part at all. Missed this reload a little bit, so that cost me a second. But again, 3rd pouch reload seems to be something I need to work on, just in general, so I can't be too mad about that one. This was a good stage performance, in my opinion, on the whole. Except for the fact that I dropped lots of raw points on this stage, I was pretty happy with this performance, and you can't really see what's going on at all, so you're going to have to mostly take my word for it. The strategy I chose I thought made most sense for production. I was shooting stuff from closer, but it required me to shoot 10, 10, and 10. So you'll see me run around in the beginning here, collect a bunch of targets on my way up to the front. Back to the corner, shoot some stuff, more stuff, up to 6 rounds, 8, 10. Reload up to this corner. I have an activator on the right, which you can see behind Saul right here. And then I have an open target, a pretty quick swinger, and then off screen over to the left, there's a stack target where there's a head box that's about 8 yards away on the top, in addition to an open target. So that's what you're hearing and seeing down here. I know you can't really see much of anything. Single shots. Very diligent aiming to try to collect points in that head. I think I still double Charlied that one. Reload a little bit uprange, being very careful so the gun's a little late getting up over here. Extremely diligent aiming on that stack. You can see this one was about 12 or 13 yards away. I'm shooting at this stack in the back right here. That's a head box only, so that second set of shots is extremely carefully aimed. I think I got an Alpha Charlie on that one. And then I have this, so right here, this big plate that's behind me, I have big popper, open paper right about here, another little popper behind it, and then off screen to the right, there's another open target. In retrospect, I should have shot the big popper right here, and then both open targets, then gone back to little popper, because you'll see it takes a decade for it to fall. But other than that, that was fine. Again, quite a few drop points on this. The whole first mag, I think, was all alphas, but then I don't know if it was just like the stress of knowing that I had no extra rounds in the front, combined with, I think 4 drop Charlies on those head boxes. I was able to rack up quite a few drop points. So now that I mentioned now, I recall I had double Charlie on that swinger that I took the 2 single passes on. On the first presentation, I was thinking it was going to be lower on the arc than it was. So I was kind of aiming in the wrong place. In the second one, I think I just mistimed the actual shot in the second pass. This stage was a pretty bad meat grinder. There's hard cover. That's a significant factor for iron sights in every one of these positions. So I ended up having a miss in the second position on the tuxedo. Very careful aiming right there. Got to work up to this front corner. That right there was where I had the miss on the left side of that tuxedo. And watching the motion of the gun, you can't really see very much. So I don't really know what to really diagnose that as. I was pretty intent on not shooting very many extra shots on paper on this stage unless I really thought I needed them. This second position, I wasn't very, very confident in the placement of my shot, so I tried to lock it down a little bit more and shoot extras as necessary and aim even harder as I go forward in the stage. But I didn't know specifically that I had that miss on the tuxedo, which is a little bit frustrating. Pretty careful shooting on the whole, except just not quite enough. So I think I had 4 Charlie and a miss, again on that tux. Overall, the timing and everything of the execution is quite good. I can't pick any bones at all about the pacing or the aggression level, just not quite enough. Just kind of keeping the sight between the black lines on those tuxedos is not enough. You really have to have reactive shooting rules that are going to net you a group size that will be half or less the size of the zone you need to hit on those to statistically avoid, penalties over a whole match, and that clearly did not quite happen. This is one of the cooler stages in the match. The performance was not super awesome, honestly. Right here, after this target, I'm engaging a head box right here. You can't see that. And the first shot went off the right side again, so I fired a third. But I was intended to reload after this position, and I forgot for a moment. So then my grip, you can see right there, is not what I want coming into this position. So I deal with this stack, double Charlie the top of the stack, and then I have to aim very diligently on the rest of this array to try to not, I fix my grip a little bit. You can see the gun comes way more inline than I would probably usually want it to, so I can get my grip squared away. And then I'm aiming harder on these than I traditionally would because I don't want to drop, more Charlies than I need to on easy targets. And then right here, you got to use this pole, doing some single-hand shooting on some easy targets. Got to drop my mag, stab the activator, and then I have to stick a reload right here before this swinger on the right comes out. Seemed to be the move on the timing. And again, did not really nail the grip on this reload. You can see as the gun comes back out, I have this sort of double pump as I try to readjust my grip. Still had time to get on the swinger in time. And then I was looking at that steel so thoroughly, like I was so confident in my target focus that I was just shooting when I saw color anywhere near it, and then ended up mailing it in and having to shoot that extra shot. So that cost me about a second. Kind of a frustrating thing to do right at the end of a stage, just not quite committed enough to that process. The 2 grip problems in a row, maybe that's a contributing factor to that breakdown, but overall there's a hard skill takeaway there and there's a soft skill takeaway, and that clearly I'm not crushing it at getting that grip back on, coming off of the back pouches while moving around on stages. That's a problem. It's a hard skill takeaway problem. Soft skill takeaway problem is, if you're allowing those sorts of things to distract you, it means your visualization is not locked in enough that you can overcome those mistakes and get back on program like you're supposed to. So 2 kind of discipline-oriented skills takeaways to work on there for this stage. This is a 20-round stage, which you do a little bit of math for production. You got to try to find a way to slice it into 10 and 10 because there's not a lot of overall motion, so extra reloads will cost you a little bit. I drive deep in on this open target with 2 long steps. And then I alpha delta this second target right here out of nowhere, which is kind of a little bit frustrating. Diligent aiming on these 2 partials because I don't want to give up points on a 3-yard target just because, other people can shoot them from where they want to and I have to combine positions. This head snap right here off this wide transition, I engage this target on the left, watch the head. Head is in position right there. Gun is still at, 9 o'clock or so as it comes over. That's very, very nice. Only thing was my plan was to step with my right foot here and start to make progress on this target because I'm shooting at this guy right here. It would have been very reasonable to take that moving a little bit and combine this motion. Ultimately, the gun is still not ready at this point, so it's not a big deal. Gun should have been up right about here, not here, so I'm a touch late on this position. So I guess really shooting on the move more on that wouldn't have probably helped me. One Charlie, 1 Delta on the stage. Overall, a good execution. The Delta bugs me more than anything. And then that slight compromise on actually executing the visualization on this target, like we talked about, is irritating. But I don't think it would have actually helped my score even if I'd done it properly. I took a little bit of an unorthodox plan on this one to shoot some targets from farther and to go to the positions in a little bit of an unorthodox order. So this plan had a couple more steps. I paced it both ways, and it was only a 2-step difference. My rule of thumb usually is if 2 plans are within 3 measured steps of each other, not counted steps, but measured steps, then usually the difference is negligible. So I shoot an extra target from over here. Had an extra shot of that second target. Could have used an extra shot of the third target too because I ended up having a Delta on it. And I knew it. I just didn't want to take, 7 shots in a 5-shot array. Pretty sure it was on paper, so I'm like, just take the punishment, eat the Delta. Same thing over here. My plan on this stack in the back was to see 4 perfectly called shots, and that doesn't quite happen, but I knew they were on paper. So there's a moment of hesitation right there before I come around this corner. Lots of people I saw, when they went to this, they shot this stack, and they kept the gun completely at extension and basically did like shooting on the move speed, like slow motion steps until they could get over to this position and engage this tuxedo. I thought that was lame. And you could see that thing. You could see that thing on a slice from this position, but you had to aim super hard at it. And it was like people just hadn't decided what their strategy was on it. So rather than do that, I just wanted to basically pedal and basically engage this while keeping my weight moving up the zone. And then I was given a full exposure on it too. You can see that looked a little cumbersome. Plan right here was to come in with my feet more or less distributed, my hips facing this way, so my feet kind of here and here in this zone, as opposed to what I end up with, which is like more downrange like this. So when I engage these 2 targets off to the right side and then have to do the wide transition to the left, it's pretty awkward. And then I'm not in a good position to make progress in this direction because of that, so I have to drop my weight, and this exit is pretty crappy. And that's, yes, that is a 5-yard tuxedo that I just shot 3 shots on, but based on the way the wall was set up, you had like an 1.5 inches of A-zone available on that to aim. Was not confident that the first one was or was not on the line, so I just shot a 3rd shot. And that was the last stage of the match. Hopefully this was enjoyable to watch. Hopefully you learned something. If you want to get a breakdown like this done, just shoot me a message and we can talk about how to make that happen. The pricing is fair, and I enjoy doing it. Lots of people, I've created a lot of clients this way just because they enjoy, getting other people's thoughts on what they should do with their training. And I will not collect money from you until you understand not just what I think of your match, but what you need to actually do differently in training to rectify your problems. So if you're into that kind of thing, shoot me a message, masonlane.lsat@gmail.com, or just get a hold of me on one of the socials. I'm easy to find.